McAvoy. I work as an outreach worker. My name's David McAvoy. I work as an outreach worker in Ottawa, specifically with the drug community and overdose prevention and education. Safe Supply has come in and they've been using a specific drug, a hydromorphone or Dilaudid is a brand name, 8 milligram, which in my day when I was a heroin addict for 30 years. And those drugs, that pill was worth $50 a pill when I was using, if you could find them. They are now, I'm being offered as an outreach worker, and we're often confused with a drug user because we're in that community and we'll walk into houses where drugs are being consumed. And I've been offered that pill everywhere at $2 a pill. So a pill that was once worth 50 has gone down to 2. And it just so happens to be the pill that they use in Safe Supply, or so-called Safe Supply. I prefer to call it supply. The idea being, I suppose, was to get people off fentanyl. Instead, what they do is they sell their pill and they go and buy fentanyl. I've seen this firsthand. In front of one of the pharmacies near where I work, I've watched exchanges, like when someone's walked out of the pharmacy with their prescription at 9:30 in the morning and sold their whole prescription to some guy for cash within 3 minutes. If I was to stand outside the pharmacy, say this morning, for 1 hour, because generally these people are at the pharmacy first thing in the morning, I would be surprised if I wouldn't see at least 4 or 5, I would witness 4 or 5 transactions. I'll watch 20 people walk out of a pharmacy in the first hour, and I will see myself 4 or 5 of them sell. Very often they're promised out in advance, so the person gets them and then they run off to someone's house to get their drugs. And I'll see the rest of them run off very quickly, and they're people I know, so I know that later in the evening or later in the day they're going to be, high on fentanyl. Because when we're out as an outreach worker, we're going to places where there's gatherings of drug addicts. Sometimes it's in a trap house, crack house, whatever you may call it. And they'll say, hey, I got some dills, the Dilaudids, which are the one used for the Safe Supply. I got some dills, $2 a piece. I'd be shocked if it wasn't 90%. I would say 10% of patients use Safe Supply in the manner it was intended to be used for, which was use this pharmaceutical to stay away from street drugs so that you had a safe supply. But what's ended up happening is it's just given them a source of income as opposed to moving them away from the street drugs. It's just allowed them to actually buy more. And I honestly believe it was an unintended consequence. I don't think these people intended on doing that. And I don't want to leave that impression. But this is what's happened. I see it. I'm there. I'm on the street. They don't divert it to someone who's already on the program or someone who's in withdrawals. They sell it to someone who's selling it on. It's not that they sell it to someone who needs it for compassionate reasons to stop their own withdrawals or to prevent it. That's not who it's being sold to. It's being sold and remarketed. That's what's kept the price. That's why there's a price involved. Now, whether you say say 10% of people who are using the program properly, it's worth it. But when you see the number of new addicts that are created by the diversion, I think you'd have a hard time weighing those two things off, because those people that you've still got them on 38 milligram Dilaudids a day. At my worst, I was never at 38 milligrams Dilaudids a day. I happen to know 2 people in particular who had never touched a narcotic. They'd been the occasional drug. They smoked some pot. They might have done a snort of cocaine on New Year's Eve or something, but they weren't opiate users. And they stayed away from opiates religiously because they were tied into heroin, and they just didn't want anything to do with them. But then all of a sudden, one of them in particular I'll mention, he had a sore knee, back. It was a combination, sore back, which created sore legs. And so he figured, well, I need something for the pain. And someone said, well, I got these Dilaudid 8s for $2. he kind of assumed at first that they were, not knowing anything about opiates, he assumed they were something like a strong Tylenol. Once he'd taken them and I found out about it, I went to him and said, listen, you know, my background of being an opiate addict, I said, those things they'll kick your butt. I said, buddy, you're going to have a problem if you keep that up. And sure enough, within about 3 weeks, he couldn't find some one day. And I can remember him saying, Jesus, I'm sweating a lot. And gee, I've had to go to the bathroom a lot today. And I said, well, these are the first signs of withdrawal. I said, I don't have an answer for you, but this is what I warned you about a few weeks ago. That person, unfortunately, this was about maybe about a year ago when I first, he'd never used opiates before. He's dead today. Now, I'm not going to put it, he died. I'm not going to put it down directly to Safe Supply because I don't know that. I don't know why he died. I do know that an addict was created. I know of one other person, a little less closely, a little less personal, who became an addict, who was not an opiate user. He was a crack user, because as we go out at night as an outreach worker, this person uses this person uses that, this person uses that. Some people use all. This guy was not an opiate user. And then all of a sudden, as weeks go by, all of a sudden I notice a change in him. And I see him one night and I can see his eyes super dilated and he's got a knot on, and I said, okay, that's opiates. At any rate, he says, yeah, I started using it a lot. It's all, they're cheap, so they're not that strong. I said, buddy, you have no idea. And he goes, well, they're not as strong as Percodan. Percodan's $6 a pill. I said, buddy, back in the day, Percodans were $3, these things were 50. So the price doesn't indicate the strength. You know, people wouldn't believe me at first. Oh, you didn't pay $50 for one of these, they're worth $2. They're not that strong. Speak to a physician. Do any little bit of research. I'm quite recognizing something that's making the problem worse. You know, it's created, it itself has created, you know, in my own experience, at least 2 more addicts. And that's me, in one spot, in one city. It's a big country. The other thing, this lowering of price has allowed people to creep from 2 a day, 3 a day, to 5 a day. Because that's only $10, big deal. They all have $10 for a little bit of panic. To, you know, doing 10 a day because it's only $20. It's created more addicts. And our intention was to reduce addicts. And instead of people finding their way, there's the odd person, you know, I don't know what a percentage would be, maybe 5% eventually want to go to rehab in each year. You know, 5% want to clean up. They sincerely want to clean up. But they've got these pills at $2 a piece. So it's just too easy to, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Because very often the impetus for someone to seek out rehabilitation often is financial, and their whole life becomes unmanageable. And with the availability of this, all of a sudden, hey, I don't have to run around and steal to get my money for drugs. I don't have to worry. All I have to do is wake up and go to the pharmacy, so it's a lot easier. When I hear someone say there's no diversion, I want to say, come with me for one night. Come with me for one night. And then you figure this thing out. Or spend an hour in front of the pharmacy at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you tell me there's no diversion. You can't be there and look at the problem with these people and say there's no diversion. You just can't. Safe supply has to be a safe supply, not a supply that can be easily diverted, that we have proof is being diverted. It's got to be a safe supply.